Hi, everyone. Welcome to our final session with the Xoogler School. We're so glad you joined us for the past 8 weeks. We hope you have enjoyed the dozens of ex-Google speakers to help you enhance and figure out what you want to do for your career over the past few weeks. We're so glad you were able to join. For our last session, we're going to have a wrap up where James Cashin, program manager and co-founder of the Xoogler School, is going to run through some of the top learnings he received since he's a gap year student himself. From there, we'll conduct a small Q&A and we'll let you let us know how the learnings have been for you. So over to you, James.
Thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, thank you all for joining for this final wrap up. Excited to sort of distill down the most important learnings from the 8-week program. Very excited to have you all here listening and hope this is helpful in sort of getting together all the important messages in one place. So the first thing that we'd like to wrap up with is discussing the elevator pitch, which was a crucial part of our learnings this 8-week program. So the goal is to create a memorable first impression and demonstrate why you're qualified for someone to follow up with. So how can you do that? Here are the key takeaways. First, you want to be concise because impressions are made extremely quickly. And when you have a short period of time, you want to make sure that you're being concise and to the point. The second thing that you want to remember is you want to share what makes you a unique candidate and why you have relevant experience and why you want to speak with this person at a later date. And the final thing you want to do is not to forget an action item at the end. So you want to wrap up with what you're looking for from this interaction, whether that's a call or a LinkedIn connection or an email, a coffee, whatever it may be. Make sure that you do have that call to action and that follow-up because you do want to make a personal connection with that person. And so moving forward, we also covered setting OKRs, which are objectives and key results. We had Paul on earlier to speak about this and how important it is to sort of quantify your goals and how you can go out, set them and make them measurable, and then actually go out and accomplish them over a period of time. So what are the goals? Your OKRs should be specific and time-bound, aggressive yet realistic, and measurable and verifiable. So how do you break these down? Well, let's start with the objectives. So for the objectives, this is a more of an inspirational, broad goal that you have. It's inspirational. There's no exact metric, but it's where you want to be in the future. And then moving forward to key results, the key results are the aspect of your OKRs that are bound by a metric. And these are something that are outside your circle of influence. So that could be a number of users brought into a website or a number of people trying out a new product, whatever that is, that's outside of your circle of influence, but it is an aggressive goal that you can set and will sort of you can track your progress on as you move through. And how do you accomplish that key result and that key metric? Those are accomplished by smaller key actions that you set forward. So you want to break down each individual action that will lead you to accomplishing your OKR. And these are the key actions that are super important to set and actually track as you move forward towards your key result. So we talked a bit about earlier in this 8-week program, this Measure What Matters book, and that sort of tracks out the history of OKRs and why they have been so important to Google's success and the success of major companies and figures across the world. So moving forward, we also spoke frequently about how to write your resume. We had multiple recruiters come in and speak on how to write your best resume, how to stand out. So what's the goal of this? It's creating a resume that is easy to process, easy to read, has no errors, and catches a recruiter's eye in less than 10 seconds. Because in the end, recruiters do not spend that much time looking at each resume because they look at hundreds of resumes a day. So how do you do that? Our key takeaways are you want to quantify your experience at previous jobs and clubs. And so whenever possible, you want to demonstrate what you accomplished by actually sharing metrics of what you accomplished. That could be maybe how many people you converted to a certain site, or how many opens you got on a certain email, or how many tasks you accomplished. Whatever it is, you want to quantify that so the recruiter or whoever is reading your resume can say, that is something that is actually trackable and I can speak to them more about in an interview. The second takeaway is to adjust and specialize your resume. So you want to tailor your resume to the role in the company that you're applying for. And that will help you stand out to a company because it shows that you've done your homework. And then the third final point here is just be honest and to show your career progression. Even if you're early on in your career, it's important to show that you've started at a certain point, whether that's in high school or in college, and that you're working your way up, and this is the next logical step in your career. So moving on to the huge topic of interviewing, and it is distilled down into one slide here, but I recommend going back and checking out all of our different speakers talking about the interview process, because it's important to sort of be prepared. And so what are our key goals here? The key goals are to be confident and prepared, and to make sure that you leave that interview feeling like you did everything you could in your power to get that job. So how do you do that? First off is a huge key, which is preparation. You want to make sure you've scripted out answers, that you've had a friend test you, you've had a family member test you, making sure that you have gone over all of the important things that you feel you bring that to that position, and really left no stone unturned. That is a huge thing. You want to make sure you've prepared, you feel confident walking through and going out and sort of taking on that interview. And we also spoke more about the STAR method, which is a great way to frame your responses and to make sure that you're hitting the key aspects of what you want to cover in your response. And that's done by setting the situation, and then sharing the task that you had to accomplish at a role or a club, whatever that may be, what action you took, and what was that result? Like what metric did you drive? So that is the best way to formulate your answers, and it's a clear way that shows what you did in a certain job or position. And that's a great way to sort of move forward with your interview. And the final thing, just to reiterate again, is that confidence. You want to be extremely confident. And that just comes from that first point, which is preparation. You want to tell your story, be confident, you've done your homework, and just go in there and know that you've done everything you can to prepare, because you spent the hours preparing, and that will make you stand out. And so moving forward, we also talked about how to be someone who is emotionally intelligent. And we talk a lot about everyone in a workplace operates differently, and that's very important to know. And so you want to learn how you work so you can help those around you learn how to best work with you, and also be the best group member or manager, whatever that may be, in a different role. So how can you do that? How can you learn about yourself? The key takeaways here are writing your user manual, right? Determine what working styles you have and what makes you unique, what things really work for you, and maybe what things don't work as well. And then share those things with your team before going forward. And that will help you set out in a really strong way. And if you have everyone on a team do this, you're set off for a great success, because everyone will be on the same page. People will give each other space where needed, and also know what strengths to play with. The second takeaway here is to reflect. You always want to be reflecting and learning from your experiences, because you need to build an understanding of how you personally operate. So at a job, if you learned something that worked in a role, reflect on the reasons why that worked. And the final takeaway here is to respect people. Everyone has their own user manual. So it's important to know people work in different ways, and it takes a lot of compromise and flexibility to work together as a team. And we also spoke a lot about building mentor relationships at Xoogler School. And so the goal of building a mentor relationship with someone is to form a meaningful relationship. And so the takeaways here on starting a new mentor relationship is, when you approach someone, make sure that you've written down your goals and you know what your goals are in this relationship, because you want to make sure that you are using your time and your prospective mentor's time wisely. And the second point here is to grow your relationship. Always make sure that you're coming back to that mentor, you're sharing your appreciation with them, you're checking in with them, you're learning what you can do for them, and you're really sort of nurturing that relationship. And it's not just that you're going in there looking for a position, for a connection. You actually want to form a deeper connection, because those are the best sort of mentor relationships, where you have a connection with your mentor and they're looking out for you, and you can also look out for them. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. And the final point here that we have is just to go for it. As college students, as many of us are in our gap years here, it never hurts to start a new conversation in person or through LinkedIn. So like I said, you're not just asking for a job, but people love to help out other people that are earlier on in their careers. So make sure that you are not bashful about it. Make sure that you are out there making new connections and sharing more about yourself and just putting your foot out there, because it's you would be surprised how many people actually want to help you. And so the final takeaway here that I want to wrap up with from our key takeaways is your work and life balance. So especially I would say during this pandemic era, it's easy to burn out and it's easy to lose track of what matters the most to you. So how do you sort of go forward and make sure that you are balancing your work and your life and your goals? Always just check in with yourself and always make sure you're prioritizing what matters to you and what matters to your long-term goals. So the key takeaways here are, first off, to remind yourself constantly that you're in control, you're in charge of your own time, and you should be prioritizing the things that matter to you and that build you up and also build you to your goals in the future. And the second point here is to frequently practice mindfulness. You want to check in with yourself, ensure that you're spending time on things that are fulfilling to you, helping you grow, and helping you go towards your long-term goals. And then this ties in with our final point, which is think long term. It's really easy to think about that next job or that next interview and then sort of end your thinking there. But if you can start sort of designing your life and thinking about the steps that you can take towards longer term goals, 5 to 10 years down the line, start thinking about that, because that's a great way to find out how you can balance your work and your life. Think longer term and start thinking backwards. Say, maybe this is my dream job and 5 to 10 years, but what are the steps that I can take there? And know that if you're just sort of keeping your thoughts and checking in with yourself, that you are on track towards those goals, and always be working backwards. So set ambitious goals for way down the line, but learn like the little steps that are gonna get you towards that goal, and that will be really fulfilling as you work towards that goal. So that sort of wraps up our key takeaways from the Xoogler School 8-week program. I hope that they're applicable to all of you, and just super grateful for all of you for joining in on these YouTube streams. I hope that you all enjoyed them, and thank you for being such great followers. And I'll send it back to you, Chris, for our Q&A. You are muted, I believe.
Thank you so much, James. We're going to spend a few minutes now conducting a Q&A with James, but before we go into that, just wanted to iterate for all our followers and people watching this later, it's clearly impossible to distill 8 weeks of classes into a short presentation. So definitely go through all of them, as we really had people introduce different careers at the start with, whether it's careers in tech, whether you're in finance and tech, as a software engineer, HR recruiting, sales and marketing, being a software engineer, product manager, all these different types of roles that are important in the technology industry. And what's really amazing is that giving you specific details of how to get into these roles today. So definitely check out those videos. And then a bunch of other videos talk about the way to really, as James had iterated, put your resume together, put your LinkedIn together, cold email or LinkedIn folks, and also try to figure out the best way to discover yourself to make sure you're applying for the best jobs possible. So during this session, I do want to ask James a few things though. So James, you had a chance to meet many students in the Xoogler School program. Can you share the key learnings you think a lot of students were able to get from there, and some perhaps examples of what you think you're most proud of in helping these students during these past 8 weeks?
Yes, of course. It was incredible to get to know our students and see them progress. And one of the clearest ways that I saw all of our students progress was early on when we first started the program. We highly recommended that if students didn't have a LinkedIn, that they actually went forward, created a LinkedIn, and then we had multiple workshops and conversations across the 8-week program on how to optimize that LinkedIn and make sure that you are reflecting the best qualities and the best experiences that you have. And then we actually pushed our students to go a step further, and with those newly refined LinkedIns, go out and actually start introducing themselves. And one of our students was actually able, through a cold introduction, to introduce herself and then find a great new internship with her newly refined LinkedIn, and using the practices that we had shared on introducing yourself and sharing sort of that elevator pitch, why you may want to follow up with her, and why you may want to have a conversation, and why this is like a great new connection to have on LinkedIn. And so just seeing that success play out across the 8 weeks was incredible. And just hearing a lot of different success stories from people building out their LinkedIns, building out their resumes, and how that just sort of instilled a new confidence. And I think that was a major thing that I learned across the 8 weeks, is that because we practiced these elevator pitches for so long, we refined the LinkedIn so much, we worked on the resumes so often, that people became more confident in themselves and the skills that they had. And I think that was sort of an incredible growing experience for everyone across the 8 weeks.
I think one of the most intriguing pieces is realizing that these students that came in had it in themselves and their background to apply for these jobs. But the main thing is how to position themselves and really understanding what jobs they're looking for. And for the students themselves to realize you can actually highlight some learnings, but also be able to show why they're passionate about and why they're the best candidate for the jobs. I think that's one of the key things that you were able to craft as part of this program, James. So thank you for putting that together. So James, you're a student yourself. You're a gap semester student from Cornell, a rising senior, a senior now. Can you share about your own experience, or what did you really learn in terms of your career prospects or opportunities that you perhaps didn't know of before that a lot of the speakers were able to highlight or bring about?
Yeah, no, of course. I would say that's a great question. And um, I would say, I'm not sure. I would say that what I've learned is that a lot of us students, we have an idea of what we want to do, right? But there is no, what I've learned from every Xoogler that sort of shared maybe how they got a role as a PM or how they got their role as a growth marketer, everyone has a different track. And so I think I gained a lot of confidence in learning that there is a base level of skills that each position requires, but the way that you can get into those positions, maybe that you are sort of looking for and really looking to sort of accelerate at, it's different for everyone. And so I had this, I sort of started planning out how I wanted to take on my next 5 years. And I gained this broader understanding of, and sort of a comfort in the fact that we are all in good positions, but it takes a lot of planning and it takes a lot of patience to find that first great role, or that one of your first roles, and sort of to work your way up into the position that you're looking to get into. So I definitely gained this broader perspective where I'm more flexible and I'm looking to learn more things. And I have this new sort of knowledge that um, everyone has a different career path, and there's no set way that people end up into their careers. And usually it just sort of unfolds. But the best way to sort of plan out is to think long term. And like Phil from Wilbur Labs, Phil Santoro said, think backwards, right? And so you can't you can apply to as many jobs as you want, but you always need to be thinking backwards, long term. So I really just learned to reiterate how to sort of broaden my perspective and learn that there's going to be a lot of different roles that I will experience, and everyone has a different career path, and to be okay with that, and to be excited about it, because everyone is going to be learning a lot, but everyone sort of has their unique way of entering the workforce and starting out.
Thank you for sharing, James. And I want to actually ask you about the way you crafted the curriculum. I remember the conversation we had on July 16th. Now it's mid-November. And what's been interesting was this pace and development and how relevant a lot of the speakers and learnings were put together by you in consultation with a few of our team members. But to think of that, we had the first conversation in mid-July, put together the website, curriculum, had the students apply, had them start in mid-September, finished up now on November 6th. So can you share, how did you even decide to put together the classes and curriculum, invite the speakers on these topics? What motivated you to actually select these type of topics for students to learn?
Yeah, no, of course. Well, first, I mean, I have to shout out the amazing staff that we had working together to sort of put that curriculum together, to do outreach to the incredible Xoogler community, and to get these speakers lined up. It was really a group effort with all of our staff members. And I think that, like you said, the idea was not that long ago. And so we did have a short period of time to sort of figure out what we wanted to prioritize. And it really started by me thinking personally on what things where do I feel like I need to grow? And as a senior in college, what are the things that I need to gain more confidence in and gain a better understanding of? And then also speaking with my fellow classmates at my school who are also seniors and soon to be applying, or if they're not already applying to their first sort of jobs outside of school, and learning what are the things that are sort of maybe gaps that career offices at colleges might not address fully, and what are things that sort of we can sort of address as the Xoogler School to say these are important things to do. And I think just like gaining confidence for interviews was always up there for us. Learning how to create a LinkedIn, because everyone sees these different LinkedIns, and it really does help to stand out and make sure that you are organized and you're reflecting, positioning yourself in the best way. So I was thinking in terms of if I were to go out and apply for a job right now, what are the things that where I'm lacking? Where do I need to sort of catch up? And I would speak to my friends and they would have the same kind of concerns. And it was always revolving around interviews. It was revolving around writing resumes, writing cold emails, refining your LinkedIn's, also learning how to sort of leverage mentor or advisor relationships, learning about what to expect at each entry level position. So you're not just blindly applying without sort of a broader understanding of each role. And so all these sorts of different gaps in knowledge started to come together, and we sort of went week by week to learn, right, how to grow your mentor relationship, how to have the most attractive resume possible, how to gain, and then of course, spread out across all 8 weeks, was just gaining a better understanding of different industries, whether that's sales and marketing or product management or software engineering or even hardware, and just learning about these different roles where I have been exposed. And I think everyone who has been through the Xoogler School has been exposed to so many incredible careers that many of us weren't even aware existed, and now are had this new interest in and are really excited about exploring. And so it was just about sort of filling in the gaps, making sure we are the most confident and well-positioned college students to head out into the workforce, and sort of closing the knowledge gaps on industries that we might not have thought about before this.
Well, James, on behalf of a lot of students, thank you for putting it together. I know a lot of people have thanked all of us many times, but it's also the relevancy of how important it is to learn about the current jobs that people can apply for and how to apply for them and what the jobs really mean. So you've definitely done a incredible job of doing the research and putting this together. And I know a few of my friends have asked me how we decided to do this, so you definitely explained it to them. So thank you for that. So the last question is really about the Xoogler role itself and the opportunity you've had to work with the Xoogler community. So for those who don't know, James was introduced to Xoogler.co, the organization which has over 9,000 ex-Google community members, back in the end of May. Now we got to thank Deb and Zach from the entrepreneurship program at Cornell for the introduction that they did from James to us. And we've had such a great time working with him. Initially, it was meant to be only an 8 to 10 week program and internship. And because of what happened over the summer of 2020, James decided to do a gap year, and that caused part of the inspiration to start the Xoogler School Gap Year program. And from there, James has had the opportunity to work as an events and marketing manager for the Xoogler community. And through that, kicked off the Xoogler School program at the tail end, at the end of his internship, specifically beyond just the Xoogler.co management. And he started the Xoogler School alongside a few of us. So James, how have you interacted with all these Xooglers, and why did you think they decided to help out? Because over time, I believe you had over 40 mentors that set up time to join us in the program, but also one-on-one time with Xoogler school students. But then on top of that, over 30 speakers that all recorded now live on YouTube that they can actually be teaching other students. Like, why do you think Xooglers were willing to give up so much time to help out all these Xoogler school students?
Yeah, no, first off, Chris, I want to say thank you, a huge thank you, of course, to Deb for introducing us through through Cornell Entrepreneurship, and for you and Ankit for onboarding me and taking me onto the team. It's been an incredible experience. Just the 10-week internship was. And then this Xoogler School program on the end of it has been unreal. And it's been such a growing experience for me. So I will always be super grateful for that. And to answer your question, I think I have to think back to my onboarding, in which I met probably in my first 2 to 3 days, I met between 10 and 15 Xooglers from almost every different time zone in the in the world. And I sort of expected to, in these first, I didn't really know what to expect from these one-on-ones where I was getting to understand the community better, but I was expecting to hear what their concerns were on how I can run the community better, how I can support them. And we did speak on these topics, but there was just this overwhelming narrative that each one of them had, which was, how can I help you? And that was sort of an incredible thing that tied together each of these first interactions that I had with Xoogler organizers across the world, which was, didn't matter how many years they had of experience, right? And many of them are people that spent years and years at Google and were at the top of their fields. And they all were incredibly humble, one, and two, just willing and wanting to help me and help me grow, even though I'm just a senior at school, have only internship experience and across different summers, but they were so invested in what I wanted to get out of my experience with the Xoogler community. And so when Chris came to me and said, I have this idea for starting this program where we will have mentors come in through the Xoogler community, it made absolute sense to me because of my experience with these mentors one-on-one and getting to meet Xooglers across the world, because there's this general sense of wanting to help others that really stands out. And it's been so unique because everyone that I've spoken to just wants to give back. And so it's really incredible and would not be possible. And it's been amazing to organize these speakers, organize these mentors, because it's so apparent how much they enjoy giving back and helping younger students and those who are interested in new fields and interested in learning more. They're so interested in helping them grow and helping them learn and following up with them. And so it seemed like sort of an incredible ask to get these many mentors and this many speakers to help out with this program. But it's really not that crazy if you think about it, because there's this thing that ties all Xooglers together, which is this the spirit of giving back and helping others and helping the next leaders sort of enter the tech world. So it's been incredible, but absolutely not possible to have the support without the Xoogler community. And just amazing to see everyone come together in such a unique way.
Well, on that note, thank you so much to all the Xooglers, as well as some current Googlers who gave up their time and effort mentoring all these students. I know they continue to grow in those relationships and mentoring these students. So thank you for all the time you've given the Xoogler School and the Xoogler School students. On a final note, James, any final piece of advice? Anything else you want to say?
Good question. I would say, if possible, take in as many of these different webinars and sort of recorded Zooms as possible, because it's just such a trove of information. And I know I will be following up. I've had my classmates here at school with me actually tune in for a lot of these live events and have just shared with me how useful this information is. And it's just incredible to sort of have this all in one place. And so my recommendation would be, as much as possible, sort of learn through these Xooglers what ways you can become a more confident and the best positioned version of yourself, because that's, I think, the most important thing is gaining confidence and being really sure of your skills and your value. And so that would be my final advice, was just keep learning and keep pushing yourself to set aggressive OKRs and set aggressive goals and learn how you can accomplish them, because information's out there and it's really on you to sort of take it in and capitalize on it. So with that said, I want to say again, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Ankit, and thank you to the whole Xoogler community and everyone on the staff team for making this possible, because it's been an incredible 8-week program, and I really am excited to hear what students in the program and involved with the program sort of accomplish throughout the next few years.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Ash. Thank you, Joe, for helping all of us put this together for the students. And for those following up later, feel free to email us at learn, Learn, @xoogler.co. If you want to send us your sample LinkedIn or email pitch, and we can give you some feedback. We're here to help you. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, James.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Chris.